Sam Darnold slays his demons, comes through in the clutch, and the Seattle Seahawks have stolen the number one seed in the NFC. That and more on today's edition of Locked On NFL.
The new Locked On NFL. The madman Tyler Rowland is your double shot of NFL espresso with the Locked On local experts on every major story. Get ready, Rowland is revving up. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Football fans, welcome into the Locked On NFL podcast, bringing you a double dose of the NFL's biggest stories with help from our local experts that know your favorite teams like no one else. I am your host, the madman, Tyler Rowland, joined today by Locked On NFL expert Nick Cattles. On today's show, of course, I'm going to give you my 5 best bets of the weekend. We're going to talk about the AFC North, the NFC North, a lot to get sorted out this weekend, but we got to start with one of the best football games of the year between two of the best football teams of the year as the Seattle Seahawks come back and win in the fourth quarter over the Rams. Before we dive into it, I do want to thank you for making Locked On NFL your first listen, and thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the number one sports podcast network. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Nick, what an incredible football game. I had it all written up. I'm going to let you guys behind the curtain here. I had it all typed up in the middle of the fourth quarter. Sam Darnold melts. Sam Darnold falls apart, doesn't make the plays, and then he did. I mean, there's a lot to talk about with this game, but Darnold came through in the clutch and in a big-time moment late in the season where we've seen him crumble before. This was a massive, massive performance for him to come back off those early mistakes.
This game was absolutely insane, and I was doing the same thing that you were doing. I think everybody was doing what you were doing in this business. You know, midway through the fourth quarter, you're like, there it is, Sam Darnold seeing ghosts, all the jokes coming back to haunt him, hardy, har, har, har. But here we are, man. It's just an insane game. And one of my concerns about this game, Tyler, going in was a short week, right? Really? Like this good of a game, the expectations we had with the Seahawks, the Rams, how well they've played all year long. The last time they played this season, it was a 2-point game, and that was with Sam Darnold throwing 4 interceptions. But man, this game exceeded expectations. And I'll tell you how crazy this game was. Mike Sando of The Athletic posted, the Rams are the first team in NFL history to lose a game with 500-plus yards, 0 turnovers, and 3+ opponent turnovers. And then Dante Kaplowitz-Fleming, a Good Morning Football researcher, he posted since 1975, teams with 400-plus yards, 0 giveaways, 0 sacks taken, and 3+ takeaways were 79-0 prior to tonight. They are now 79-1. And to make it even more outrageous, it was Sam Darnold. It was Sam Darnold in overtime with a huge drive, a ridiculous dime to Cooper Kupp, the 2-point conversion to somebody who I don't know if he had a catch all year long. I mean, just absolutely bananas, man.
No, you got to give them all the credit in the world, especially you're talking about all these, these records, these stats. This is the first time the Seahawks franchise has come back down 15 points in the fourth quarter. They had it on the broadcast after the game. Like, it just everything that you could think of for it to happen in this magical way, it did. And I want to point this out because what really changed the game, Nick, what really turned the tide was the Rashid Shaheed kickoff return. And he's had some trouble getting integrated into the offense. People haven't been as excited with the dividends from him. But a guy like that makes the play on special teams to flip the game. And can we get more energy on the call from the broadcast on one of the biggest plays of the game? I mean, it's a snoozer out there. Somebody called me, you know what I mean? Like, I'll rant and rave and turn up the heat a little bit on a play like that. Like, come on now. But seriously, that trade, it may not look as good as the Jacoby Myers trade with, Myers just gets the extension on Thursday and everything like that. But that moment, trading for Rashid Shaheed, saved the Seahawks season and likely gets them the number one seed because that moment where he returned that kick changed the entire game. So you got to give big time credit to Schneider for making that move.
And then the next drive, he has the big run, right? The little jet sweep end around deal where he picks up a chunk play. So, yeah, I mean, late in the fourth quarter, he really stepped up. It's one of those games, Tyler, when you look at it, right? How much credit do you give the Seahawks? How much criticism should the Rams get? I mean, Mike Vrabel,
Yeah.
I do Locked On Patriots every day here for Locked On. And one of Mike Vrabel's favorite things to say is, take a nap. We don't want to take naps. And I think the Patriots took a nap the final 30 minutes of the game last weekend against
Right.
Buffalo, right? It felt like the Rams took a nap, that they got up 30-14.
Yep.
And it felt like they said to themselves, this game is over. Sam Darnold's not coming back against us. You give up the punt return for the touchdown. And it just becomes an absolute implosion to the end of the fourth quarter, making it 30-30. You give up, 3 2-point conversions in this game to lose. So all the credit in the world to Seattle. They did not give up. They played hard. They made plays. But, the Rams also let this one slip away in a game where Matthew Stafford throws for 457 yards and 3 touchdowns without a single pick, in a game where Puka Nacua, even without Davante Adams, finishes with 12 catches, 225, and 2 touches, and you lose the game. That's a rough Sean McVay.
No, and listen, the fourth quarter, the Rams had so many opportunities. Look, they finished the fourth quarter with a touchdown to put them up 30-14. That's in the fourth quarter.
Yep.
But then their next drives are punt, 4 yards, 3 yards, punt, 7 yards, missed field goal, punt. They just could not close this thing out. And, for the Rams, they're still in it, but this loss definitely hurts. And that's something that my guy Travis Rogers from Locked On Rams talked about after the game.
An absolutely wild game in Seattle where the Rams lose 38-37 in overtime. A game they led by 16 points halfway through the fourth quarter. A catastrophic loss, at least for the night for the Rams. Still a couple of games to go. They are in the playoffs, so the season will certainly continue beyond this. But Matthew Stafford for nearly 500 yards. The Rams had 500 yards of total offense. Puka Nacua had the best game of his career. The Rams turned Sam Darnold over 3 different times. They had a special team breakdown. They got a little lucky with the officiating, a little unlucky with the officiating. The weirdest 2-point conversion you're ever going to see in your life. Doug and I are all over it on Locked On Rams tomorrow. Do not miss it.
I'm looking at the Rams, and I got to be honest with you. When you're talking about how much do we credit the Seahawks, how much do we criticize the Rams, I don't really feel like this changes how I feel about the Rams. In my mind, they lost this game by 1 point in overtime, on the road, short week, division rival, crazy 2-point conversion that goes against them. A lot of things happen in this game to make it work out. So I'm not going to be overly concerned about the Rams. I still think they're the best team in the NFL, and I still think they're going to come out of the NFC at this stage. But the one thing that does worry me is the special teams. They've had these little special teams issues all year long with their kicking game. Remember, early in the season, they kept getting all these kicks blocked, and it was this big deal. And now their kicker, they can't really trust them. They make that field goal, they win the game. It's over. You know what I mean? And they can't find a kicker that they trust. They give up the return touchdown to Shaheed. Special teams is an important phase of the football game. We're talking about Mike Vrabelisms. He would tell you that more than anything. He truly values all 3 phases. And that Rams special teams unit, man, they could have a great defense and a great offense, but if they make critical mistakes on special teams, that's going to be the margins that lose them these type of tight games against good teams.
Yeah, we always overlook it. We do. Even though coaches like Bill Belichick and Vrabel and others will pound the point home to us that special teams matter. Al Michaels did wake up in just enough time to jinx the kicker, by the way. So sweet job by him. But
Thanks,
when you
Al.
look at it, it's so true. I mean, I know it's the second time I'm referencing the game, but it's a great example of what you're talking about. You go back to the Bills-Patriots game where the Bills' first touchdown of that game late in the first half is because you get a great return. And then the first touchdown in the second half for Buffalo was because of a great return. The Bills, Josh Allen, all he had to do was drive 86 yards to put up 2 touchdowns on the board. So you look at the return game, you look at bad coverage, you look at missed kicks, all of those things matter in close games. But I agree with you with the bigger overall picture of this, Tyler. Look, if these 2 teams played again tomorrow night, who are you taking? Are you taking Matthew Stafford or are you taking Sam Darnold? No matter how good Darnold was on that final drive in overtime, you're taking Stafford. So
yes,
I don't know how much this changes the dynamic of the big picture, but man, what a beginning to this week of football.
Oh, I mean, this is going to be an awesome week. We got a lot to talk about in regards to this week. I got the Madman's Moneymaker coming up, but you're right. What a game to kick it off. Football's going fast, folks. If you didn't enjoy this one, I don't know what to tell you. What a great football game, setting up the stage for the rest of the NFC, and we got to head to the NFC North. Do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. The World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets, usually the hardest part. That's why the Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts when great seats come open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull up the app, the layout is super simple. It's easy to scroll through all the matchups, compare seat views. You just pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for the fine print, and their seat view feature is a game changer. You literally see what the pitch looks like from your exact seat before you buy. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets for every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, download the app, make it an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off at Game Time. All right, Nick, let's continue today's edition of Locked On NFL. We talked about a magnificent, sublime Thursday night football game between the Seattle Seahawks and the Los Angeles Rams. Now we got to get into the rest of the slate because we got two massive divisional matchups that I do want to talk about. First, the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. And I'm looking at this matchup, and I got to be honest with you, Nick. The line is 1.5. The Bears are home underdogs here to the Packers. It's enticing, but the real problem with this game is both teams are really banged up. And on Crossover Thursday between Locked On Packers and Locked On Bears, they talked about an injury update with the Packers having Christian Watson, Zach Tom, and Evan Williams all banged up.
Christian Watson, I think if you ask me about any of the three, Christian Watson, I think is the most likely to play. I would put, like, if I got to put injury designations on those guys today, I would say, like, Christian Watson is questionable. The other two guys are probably doubtful as we head in here. But I have to flip this to you because we were texting about this earlier in the week. Roma Dunze, someone mentioned to me, like, hey, did they mismanage this with Roma Dunze trying to get him to play and then potentially having a setback? And now Luther Burden, 2 straight days as DNPs here too. So,
and now we know both of those wide receivers will be out for the Bears. Honestly, Nick, I was looking at this game, looking at the line before all the injuries. Now seeing what we know, it makes it difficult. But I'm going to go with the Bears here, plus 1.5, because I think if wide receivers are injured on both sides, okay, Christian Watson makes a big difference with that Packers offense. Like, that offense is totally more explosive when he's out there with his 6'3" speed, frame, all that he brings to the table. So I know that the Bears are going to be missing some wide receivers, and I know that the Packers are going to be missing some. So then it goes to the run game. And with Josh Jacobs being questionable as well, Chicago being home here, I'm going to go with the Bears plus 1.5. I'm just going to take the team getting the points if I'm worried about the injuries on both sides.
Look, Packers, Bears, touchdown game the last time these two teams played just a couple weeks ago, and that was with Micah Parsons on the field. We talk about injuries. The biggest injuries, the Packers lost Micah Parsons for the year with a torn ACL. Davante Wyatt, big defensive lineman, he's also out for the rest of this season. Chicago's at home, and here's the thing. The Bears have lost, checking notes, once. They've lost once this year at home. That was week 1 against Minnesota when J.J. McCarthy had an out-of-body experience in the fourth quarter somehow, some way, right? So they've been really good at home, and I think this is Chicago's chance to avenge years of beatdowns from Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. I think they get this one done. Give me the plus 1.5. Give me the home dog.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that, and it'll be interesting to see what happens on defense. It's funny, Nick, I'm so in the weeds in the NFL. I'm like talking about all these injuries to different – you're like, yeah, Micah Parsons too. That's also an injury that we must consider in this game. Very, very smart. But this game probably will decide the NFC North. I think there's a good chance that could happen. And, you know, with what we saw from Seattle and Los Angeles tonight, that game is going to be an absolute banger. I cannot wait. And listen, the next divisional game that I'm going to bring up here is maybe not as poppy as the one we watched on Thursday Night Football. It's maybe not as hot as Packers-Bears, but it is very, very important as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers head to Carolina to take on the Panthers. And you know what? You know what? I'm going with the Bucs. -3. I have to believe in the Bucs. And I told you last week, Nick, I told you, if the Panthers lost that game to the Saints, I'm divorcing them. I am disowning them entirely. And this game is probably going to be for all the marbles, though, as they talked about on Locked On Bucs.
The Panthers are not a great defense. They're certainly not a great rush defense, better than last year, but they're not a good rush defense. You should be able to put up a lot of points against this team. And it's going to be a little bit of a track meet out there, I would think. But you never know. Divisional game.
Listen, if it's going to be a track meet, which I think it is going to be, like our guys from Locked On Bucs said there, give me the Buccaneers with Mike Evans back. I'm sorry. I'll go down on the ship with the Bucs, no pun intended, over the Panthers in this one. I don't want the Panthers anywhere near the playoffs. Give me Baker Mayfield and the Bucs to at least make it spicy and interesting. Give me the Bucs -3. I'm betting with my heart, not my head. My dad always told me that was dumb. I'm doing it anyway, Dad.
I'm severely underdressed after watching that clip. I didn't know we were suit and tie world, baby. I told you last week, Tyler, right? I said that the Panthers are just a weird team. I thought for sure that they were going to lose at New Orleans, and they did. That was one of the games I got right. I don't get a lot right, but I got that one right. And to me, it's like, okay, does Carolina, they've got home field advantage in this game. It's obviously a huge game with playoff implications and division implications. I don't know if Carolina gets quote unquote rocking as a stadium. I've been there a couple times, but it's mostly been preseason football. The Panthers, here's the thing. They always zig when most think they'll zag. And I'm going with that. So they're home dogs. They're getting 3 points in this. Tet McMillan was in a coma last week. He'll be more involved this weekend. I think Carolina will be angry after blowing their chance at New Orleans last weekend. The Bucs, by the way, are 1-5 in their last 6 games. So give me the home dog with the playoff repercussions. I'm going to take Carolina, even though it's shaky.
Yeah, it is certainly shaky, but you're right about that. Either way, think about what we just saw from the Los Angeles Rams, who, if they don't win the NFC West now because Seattle is, they're going to have the 5 seed. It doesn't matter who wins the NFC South. They are going to get slaughtered by the Rams in round 1. Like, give me a break. And here's my thing, though. Like I was saying, I guess the Panthers already beat the Rams. Who am I to talk? The Panthers already beat the Rams, right? So, I guess anything can happen. Who knows? Yeah, right, though. Get out of here. Give me the Bucs in that one, but we will see. I do want to go to a game that isn't a divisional matchup, but, man, it is a big matchup in the AFC as a conference. 2 teams that maybe need to get more respect than what they get nationally, and that's the Denver Broncos, who are hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars. And the Jags are getting a lot of credit right now for their offense and how Trevor Lawrence is playing, but my guy Tony Wiggins is here to remind you that the Jags got a defense as well.
All we thinking about is 32 points per game that the Jaguars are averaging as of last couple of months. They're doing their thing. Liam Cohen and Trevor are clicking. The offense is clicking. Brian Thomas Jr. is catching balls again, and Jacoby Myers is catching balls, and Travis Etienne is showing up like a top 7 running back this league in the National Football League, maybe even higher than that. The offensive line is getting after it and blocking people down the field, and we just forget sometimes to mention. I ain't going to say we forget it, but sometimes we fail to mention the importance of that defense under Anthony Campanile and how many faces that they have on that defense that are critically important to what they do and put out.
Listen, I am a Jaguars backer. It pains me to say it, as I've hated the Jags for all of my life, but I knew coming into this season that they were super talented, and not just on offense, on defense. I love their defensive line talent, especially with their edge rushers, so they do deserve more credit as a defense than I think they get nationally, where their offense gets more love, but their defense ain't the Broncos' defense, and the Broncos are at home, and I don't trust either of these quarterbacks to be consistent, so I'm going to go with the home team with the better defense. Give me Denver -3 against Jacksonville.
This is a fascinating matchup because of what you just mentioned. You've got the hot offense of the Jaguars against this Broncos defense. I've doubted Jacksonville all year long, right? Every time we talk about this team, it's not that I'm throwing shade on them, but Trevor Lawrence has to win me over. And I feel like he has started to win me over the way they've played. And Liam Cohen has done a fantastic job with that offense as a first-year head coach, especially. I think Denver wins, but I'm actually going to go with the Jags. I think they stay within 3 points. I just feel like this is your prototypical quintessential Denver Broncos win when, it's tight throughout. Maybe even the Jags have a lead in the fourth quarter, and somehow, some way, the Broncos win by like a point or two. So I'm going to take the Jags plus the 3. I don't feel great about it, but I'm going to get behind Jacksonville this week, Tyler.
That's fair. Hey, you're telling Trevor, like I did with the Panthers last week, I'm gonna back you. Don't let me down. And if you do, I will remember, and I will curse you until the end of time. But listen, I don't think you're crazy. The way I see it, though, is close game, fourth quarter, Lawrence makes a big mistake with a turnover, gives Denver the ability to cover. That's what I'm going to be looking for in that one. But we move from starting in the NFC North, making our way all the way over to the AFC North, which got clearer in Week 15, but could get murky again in Week 16. Do want to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. The holiday season is one of the best times for sports. You got bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes, all happening at once. And while we're all making choices every day, one of the most fun places to make the right call is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. You just pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, lock in your lineup, and you're in the game. It's simple, it's fast. It's available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks adds an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule. You can create a lineup. It takes less than a minute, and the app makes the whole process really smooth, really intuitive. They have some awesome features like an early payout feature, their new stacks feature that lets you choose the same player up to 3 times in one lineup. Like you can use the same quarterbacks, passing yards, touchdowns, rushing yards. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. It's Prize Picks. It's good to be right. All right, Nick, let's cap off today's edition of Locked On NFL. Talked about a great Thursday night football game. Talked about some divisional matchups and a great AFC matchup this weekend as well to start my Madman's Moneymaker here. But now we're going to cap things off with a few teams in the AFC North. Before we do want to thank you again for making Locked On NFL your first listen. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. But I want to start with another great matchup. And this time we have the Detroit Lions hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers. And listen, I know that Pittsburgh had a really good game, but you know how you talked about the Panthers being a team that zigs when you think they're going to zag and zags when you think they're going to zig? That's the Steelers. Every time you think the Steelers are getting somewhere, they don't. And every time you think the Steelers are dead, they win. The Steelers looked great against Miami, reestablished themselves over the Ravens last week, but I think they come back down to earth to keep making this division interesting. Give me Detroit -6.5. I know that's quite a bit of points, but the Steelers are going to be without some edge rushers. I don't trust that offense. I don't think they can keep up with Detroit scoring points, and I don't think the defense is going to slow Detroit down. Give me the Lions -6.5.
Yeah, Pittsburgh beat Miami in cold weather on Monday night. Shocker. I mean, we're talking about a Dolphins team that has legitimately lost 14 straight games if that the weather is 40 degrees or colder. Honestly, 2-0-6 in games 40 degrees or colder. And now Tua, of course, as we know, is benched. You mentioned the edge rushers. I agree with you. TJ Watt, Nick Herbig, both very likely out of this football game. That is going to impact the Steelers' defense significantly. And you're going against the Detroit offense that, as we know, is explosive. Jamison Williams and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs, who cost me my fantasy game last weekend. I'm still upset. But you get the Lions playing at home. Their playoff lives are on the line. Dan Campbell's going to be biting kneecaps and throwing chairs in the locker room before the game kicks off. Give me the Lions -6.5. Lay the points.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I don't buy the Steelers. I just can't do it. I'm out. And I want to mention this. The Steelers give up 120 rushing yards per game, and the Lions just happen to have a double-headed monster in the backfield that's pretty good. But my guy Matt Derry from Locked On Lions says they need to get David Montgomery more involved this week as well.
But David Montgomery has got to be utilized more. That's tough to do when you've got Jahmyr Gibbs. But when Montgomery gives you what he gave you this past Sunday, which was in the second quarter, a great drive that ended in a Montgomery touchdown. He can't touch the ball one time the rest of the game. If Montgomery's cooking a little bit and he's moving the pile, keep giving it to him. Then you bring Gibbs in.
I think that's a great recipe for the Lions to score a lot of points on the Steelers. They'll be able to run the football. Again, I'm with you. I like Detroit -6.5, but that's good news for the Baltimore Ravens. And Nick, I'm sorry I had to do it. I had to bring the Patriots into it. I know it's not your favorite, but you know what? Man, we had them last week. I can't believe it. What a great call with the +1.5. I got to go back to the well. I know that the Patriots are on the road against Baltimore, but the Patriots are the type of team that responds. Mike Vrabel will have his team ready to go, and I have been consistent. Even as Baltimore had their run, I am not a believer in the Baltimore Ravens. I'm simply not. Now, whether I'm a believer or not, they still have a chance to get in.
I think this is the first time since 2019, if I got that math right, that the AFC will be represented by someone not named Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow at the quarterback position. If the Ravens can sneak their way in, everything resets, and you're just hoping at this point they can get a chance, and there are multiple ways they can do so.
Listen, I know they got a chance. They're going to come out playing hot, but the Patriots are a much better football team. The Patriots are going to be angry and looking to avenge their comeback loss last week. I'm going to trust that the better football team will win. Give me the Patriots plus the points, 2.5.
I've got concerns, Tyler. I've got concerns. The Patriots defense right now is a mash unit. They might be without 5 of their starters on defense Sunday night. They might be. And if that's the case, 2 of the top 3 cornerbacks in Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones, both DNPs on Thursday. They still don't have Milton Williams. Robert Spillane is in a walking boot. Things are rough for this defense. The Ravens run game scares the crap out of me. I'm not sure New England will get enough possessions in this football game. Give me the more desperate team playing at home on Sunday night. I'm going to take the Ravens minus the 2.5.
There's no way Mike Vrabel is going to let Derrick Henry run all over him. There's no way. He knows that man better than anybody else. I just refuse to believe. You're right. The injuries are a concern. I mean, that's absolutely a concern. And Baltimore's pass rush has been a lot better lately. We just talked about it earlier this week here on the show. They got Tavius Robinson back, and Draymond Jones has been excellent after the trade with the Titans. Like, that pass rush has gotten a little bit better as of late. So, I see it, but man, I've seen too many games where, the whole team's injured. Mike Vrabel got practice squad guys to go get a win in a big time spot. I believe I've seen it before, and I believe it. And I do not believe in the Ravens. Now, if the Ravens were to win and the Steelers were to lose, now both teams are 8-7. The Ravens conference record is a little worse. They would be 6-5, and the Steelers are at 7-3. But the division, the Steelers are 3-1. The Ravens are at 3-2. They got a game still to play. I mean, it would still be up in the air. So that would be very, very interesting. And although I want my bets to hit, I'm okay with that kind of outcome because it does make things a little spicy down the stretch.
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, we look at this weekend's games, and I know we only took, 5 of them to talk about, plus tonight's game, which is obviously the 6th. But when you look at this weekend's slate, and it feels like we say it every single weekend, but man, this weekend's set of games is truly terrific with so much on the line in so many different ways, including what you just brought up. I mean, I think you even look at Monday night with the Niners and the Colts. That's an interesting game, even though Phillip Rivers, old man Rivers back out there on Monday night. What is he going to be able to do against the Niners? We'll see. But this weekend should be fantastic. And Tyler, the way it started with Thursday Night Football, that's some lofty expectations to follow up on.
Yeah, we're setting up for a great finish, a great holiday finish here to the NFL season, and we'll be here to break it all down on the Locked On NFL podcast. But that's going to do it for us today. I am your host, the Madman Tyler Rowland, for my co-host, Nick Cattles. As we tell you every episode, thanks for tuning in, and stay safe out there.